All right, guys, it's Alex back with episode 37 of the HYPEWORKS podcast with Jake here. And I always pronounce the names of the people correctly, so let me get this straight. Niels?
Yes,
Yes, there you
perfect.
go. Cool. Yeah, good to have you on, Niels. We had a little chat over DMs, and yeah, we kind of quickly got this on. So thanks for kind of joining us short notice. Jake, just continue what you were saying there. We're talking about like
Yeah,
big companies and like
yeah.
whatnot.
We're having a quick chat in the green room before we came on air. And we were just talking about the experience and the differences of experience between big companies having a corporate background versus working in smaller companies. And I think that sometimes, especially like young people, graduates that move into careers, generally want to come from like good universities and go into big companies. But I do believe it is a little bit of a fallacy, having gone through the sort of career cycle. And Niels was just exclaiming that effectively he never went down this big corporate route, and he's a superstar in sales now. So we're going to get into that. But what's your opinion, Niels? Big company, corporate experiences, small companies. Any
Hmm.
opinions?
I think it both has like its ups and downs, right? If that's how you put it. Um, I think the advantage of like especially starting off in a big company is that you get to learn from a lot of other people, right? And they usually have this whole training and onboarding program set up. I never had any of that in the companies that I worked for. Actually, the company that I worked the longest for, I started there with 12 people, and I was the second person doing marketing, online marketing. I started there as an online marketeer, and at the end, I was marketing head of marketing. That's actually also an advantage of a small company because you can like grow pretty fast and you can grow with the company. But in that company, it was like just you. Here's your chair. Here's your computer. He will explain something to you, and let's go. That's kind of how it
Yeah,
works,
yeah,
right? In
yeah,
these, but that also shapes you. So you have to figure it out all by yourself, and
yeah.
from a young age when you start somewhere. And I think that has been a big advantage for me working in a small company. But maybe you need to be the right person for that. You also see a lot of people leave because you just see them like um, they cannot really figure out things themselves. You need to tell them,
Right.
but you don't have time for it, and
It's
you
funny
need to
because
be a different kind of person.
yeah, Jake will agree to this. Like when you join the big companies, like the first thing you do is you go for a week's training, and like you sit in a room with like all the other new joiners, and then the company indoctrinates you. So they say like, this is how we do things. This is our culture. Like, you're now in this system. You have
Yeah,
to abide by these rules. It kind of feels like going to prison in a way. It's like it's got that kind of vibe. You're kind of locked up
Here's your
in a
booth.
room. Yeah. And you
No,
get your
well,
name card in your booth.
the first company I worked at was a startup in London. I have to say, in terms of accelerating my understanding of how things actually work in fundamentals, like, it can be a bit scrappy in the beginning. And an advantage of working in a small company is that sort of like, scrappiness about getting the ball over the line. Whereas in a big company, there's so much red tape and procedure, and you can't cross somebody's swim lanes because if you do, the politics will come down and get involved. It's just like it's full. I'll tell you, I say this right now because I'm going to get on a rant here, but you know, corporations are just full of people that really have no real world exposure for how things work, and I might put myself at a disadvantage here, but I would struggle to go back to a corporation because I am so fed up of being in a corporation surrounded by people that want to play a game that's based on politics, not a game that's based on competence.
hmm.
And I'd rather be surrounded by a group of people that actually ruthlessly work hard to achieve the team objective as opposed to a group of people that don't work hard, play the politics. Oh, I'll get my boss the latest brand of Nespresso or coffee or tea or whatever to appease them, so that they might give me the edge when it comes to the promotions at the end of the year. It's like, nah, that's not for me. I'm here to win, so I want to be surrounded by people that are here to win. Anyway,
Yeah, but
sorry,
you know, it
rant
does have
over.
an advantage actually to learn some politics, because I never really learned that, and it does have some advantages to just receive some SOPs and do what it says, because you do learn quickly the basics of how it's been done.
Mm.
But I think only the people who are competent enough will go above that and like create their own ways to do it even better. And others, they stick to, let's just do what the SOP says, and then at 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock, I just check out and go home. They
Mm.
will stay there, and it's fine. And most of those people, they even like to stay there for the rest of their careers. And others, they just leave. But you do get some quite good base, depending on the company, of course, of basic understanding of how things work. And in smaller companies, you need to figure it out a bit of yourself, and then you can become an expert on one thing quite quickly. Where I think in a bigger company you stay a bit more general usually, because then you kind of learn a lot of things, but not like super detailed probably. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I think the SOP in a big company can sort of lock you in, though. So, like, obviously, I started in a small company. I'd jump on the sales calls. That wasn't my job. I'd jump on the sponsorship sales calls as well. I'd sell
Yeah, that's cool.
sponsorship. I'd sell sales, like delegate passes to events. I'd build products. I did a bit of everything. Even though my main job at that point in my career was effectively organizing conferences, a portfolio in AI and machine learning back in 2016. Shout
Yeah.
out to the Innovation Enterprise and everybody that's involved. But I could do a few different things, and I learned a lot of fundamentals about sales and marketing, particularly in sales, from that small company, because you had to be able to get on the phone, which I think is going to be a nice little segue now, Neil.
Yeah, I think actually that um, because you have to do all these things in a smaller company, you also learn, like, as long as it's not rocket science, I can probably do it because I did that and I did that. As, oh, this is something new. Well, how hard can it be, And I think then maybe the difference with a larger enterprise company, they will tell you, no, no, that's not your job. You cannot do that. Let them
Right,
do it because they are the department who does that. So
right.
I think that is also a big advantage of working in a small company. But
So
again,
yeah.
it has to suit you.
So Niels, like, did you ever interview at one of these big companies, or do you just like say, fuck that, I'm just gonna, kind of find my own way, like,
Never.
you know, no,
No, it just doesn't,
because there's
how
so
do you
much
say that,
pressure when you
attract
come out
me.
of school. Like, maybe it's just a UK thing, but when we come out of school, we're told, like, FTSE 100, right? Here's top 100 companies. These are the companies you want to work for: HSBC, BP, Shell, whatever. Like that. That's kind of driven into us. Um, that was never on your radar. You're just like, okay, I want to learn like real world skills, like digital marketing or sales, or
I would be nice if I could say that, but I think the main factor that drove me to work for a smaller company was I don't want to be like the rest. When I
yeah,
was so young, when I was during school, I wanted to be different, and when I was getting out of school, I wanted to be different. And no, it never attracted me. So I just wanted to do something fun, and I thought, like, when I came out of school, I thought online marketing sounds fun. I think I can do it. That's like how naive you are when you come out of school, of course. And I just applied for some job. They hired me. It was actually close to my home, so that was also a big advantage. And it was the same thing. It wasn't that company that I referred to earlier, but it was another one where I worked for about 1.5 or 2 years or something. And yeah, just do your thing. Here's the CMS. It was like a web shop, a big web shop for agendas. Like, actually, physical agendas. Not sure if everyone knows them. Maybe the younger people don't. But they sold them, and the company went bankrupt like 5 years after or something because yeah, everybody was switching to. This was a long time ago. This was 15 years ago or something.
Okay.
But
So
yeah.
yeah, let's set the scene. So it's close to your home, first business. How did you get from getting into that first company to where you are now? Like a little career overview. I guess we've got to introduce what you do now as well, so you can tell everybody.
Yeah, so I started as an online marketeer doing some web shop stuff. It was all quite easy then. Went to a company where they built websites, and they did some online marketing consultancy on the side for like to get those companies going with their website, to get some traffic in. That was actually a terrible job because not so much because of the work, but because of the manager. That's how important a good manager is. I was gone after 6 months, and then I landed at my job where I really liked it, and I stayed there for 10 years and also started as an online marketeer there. And then through the years, this company, it was kind of a startup actually in the beginning. It was online dating company, and it started in the Netherlands with a couple of websites. They did a lot of like white labeling websites, and then after that, after a couple of years, it started growing through Europe. It started growing outside of Europe, and it went to like a multi-million dollar company. It was huge. It was huge. And we built a team. I started there with just one other marketeer, and we just did Google Ads. That was it. Started with
I
Google
bet you the
Ads.
Google ads would have been like it would have been kind of like crazy effective back then, right? Of course, now it's basically fucking
Everything
impossible,
was
right?
crazy
Yeah,
effective back then.
yeah. It's
It was all.
is
uh,
that though? Is that though as just I've thought about this topic a lot, like greenfield marketing, like new areas you can go into. And Jake, we talk about this a lot, like AI right now. There's a lot of like automation opportunities. Like, do you think marketing really was much easier back then versus today in terms of like cost and opportunity, or do you think you're a moment in time, right? And you just have to take advantage of whatever channel is available at that time.
Yeah, it definitely was easier back then.
Mm,
There was so much less regulated. The ad platforms were, you could control them more manually. Now it's all AI, and all the good features that you could use in the past are gone.
mm,
Because these companies also, like, they figured out how to maximize their ROI, right? So they figured out how to get most of the most money out of every advertiser by not letting it look too shady, but still it is actually quite a bit shady, like what they do with these Google reps, and they
yeah.
just keep stalking you. You can never lose that annoying pop-up in your advertiser manager. So yeah.
You know, I saw a graphic not too long ago. Again, mate, we still need to get to where you are today. We'll get there. We're
Yeah.
segueing all over the place here, but I saw a graphic that was saying like back in the early, we'll say mid to like 2000s to so 2000, 2010, Google was pretty much driven by getting clicks as opposed to now where it's much more driven about, well, they say attention, right? Like that's one thing that's come around, like it's an attention economy. But I also wonder whether it's more like, I have a theory about this. It's a low-key tinfoil hat, get it on. But I think it's an emotive economy. I think we've moved from attention economy to emotion driven economy, like something that triggers you. And it doesn't necessarily have to make you angry, but we are very primitive, and we've always been primitive. As you know, you've worked in the online dating world, which is quite a primal industry. But
Yeah.
people are driven by their emotions. And I think today, especially like when you look at European society and Western society in general, America and Australia included, it feels like it's in like a heightened state of sensitivity, and people are much more easily triggered. And I think advertising and TikTok and Instagram Reels, etc., are kind of moving into that world where it's like, it doesn't necessarily have to be something that will draw you in, that you're necessarily interested in, but it's something that's going to trigger a response, so you're going to continue to watch. That's just my tinfoil hat theory at the moment.
Yeah, it's hard to say, right? I mean, I don't know, but it could very well be true because well, it's always been emotion that triggers people, of course. I mean, let's say it's what triggers people most, right? So if you want to do really good online marketing, let's say you want to write some really good copy, if it is uh, like tapping into someone's feelings, emotions, and especially the strong emotions like fear. Fear sells, right? Sex sells as well. Fear of being alone for dating. That's terrible. You don't want to end up alone. You know, that is a real fear of people, and you can tap into that. And it's a bit cheeky, of course, to do it, but it works. And if it works, yeah, why not? As long as it's not illegal.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are you doing today? We're going to get there.
Well, still online marketing. No, I'm doing actually what I'm doing is I came from this company, right, where I worked for 10 years, head of marketing at the end, had a team of 12 people. Really like doing that, but there was this ceiling for me. So the next step was going to be owner of the company, and I wasn't going to be that. So I needed to leave and do something else. Well, I really didn't want to work for another boss. So I started freelancing first a little bit, and still doing some freelancing stuff on the side right now because we're just growing funnel supply. And funnel supply, that's gonna have to be the main thing. So next year, the goal is that I just can fully put my attention 100% to funnel supply, so that thing is gonna make like the money that I need
Yeah.
to eat.
So that's
But
that space, Neil. That space, the funnel optimization space. Like I'm not super knowledgeable about it. Is that a really competitive space, or is this like a really kind of emerging area, or what's your take on that?
I also,
hmm,
sorry to interject, I just want to say that what's interesting and unique as well about your offer, Neil, is that you've productized that as well. So you've not just taken like a traditional sales agency approach, but you've
yeah.
turned it into a product as a service. So just to throw on top of Alex's question, make it a little bit more complicated.
No,
What do you
well,
think?
probably Baked and
Yes,
Baked.
some of
baked.
these
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
design productized design companies as
Design
well.
Yeah.
Joy.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
mentioned Design Joy every week.
All the
Design
time.
Joy,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Design Joy as well. That was
yeah,
even I think a little bit before Baked started. But so how we got to funnel supply was my co-founder and I. We used to work together when I was working for this online dating company. He was an affiliate. He actually made millions and millions with being an affiliate in that space only in the dating space. And after that, he started up some other companies, sold them. So he did really well and learned a lot in really in the media buying space. Um, but he did everything himself, so he also learned a lot about the technical part, and I learned more about the copywriting, creative side. Um, and well, we were always talking about, well, maybe at some point we start something together, but that has been like going off and on for years in the past. And then at some point, um, and it really also had to do with these kind of productized companies like Baked and Design Joy. We saw that, and it just it triggered us because it was really interesting. It was new. It felt really like a fresh kind of business idea, right? And so we were like, hey, we should be able to do something like that, but then with online marketing. We are not designers, so we don't put our efforts in like super beautiful, well-looking designs. Actually, my opinion is that a good landing page doesn't have to look beautiful. The copy is like 80% of the landing page. So you need to be able to write good copy to have a high converting landing page. Now we're gonna get a lot of angry designers probably, but
I think your page does both, by the way.
yeah, you like the design as well.
I think it's awesome. I
Cool.
really
Yeah,
do.
we get that a lot actually. It's quite simple, but it has something, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so we figured let's do landing pages and ad campaigns. Let's just start with this. And the funny thing, or the interesting thing, is that we are actually about to pivot because, yeah, multiple reasons actually. But landing pages and ad campaigns, it's probably for a lot of people, it's really interesting stuff, and you can learn a lot if you never did it before and you just get into it. But it's also a bit boring. Especially these days doing ad campaigns, everything is getting automated. AI is getting into it. You can just launch something and it goes. But there's all this other stuff that's like happening after the ad, right? So that's the landing page, and then there's the monetization in the product itself. And while we were having a couple of clients doing these landing pages for them and doing these ad campaigns for them, we also saw that there's more work to do in a lot of companies, because we also see that the level of how people think that their landing page should be and what they do after, like also with SaaS companies, it's like they want to focus fully on the ad campaigns, and that should do the work, and that's how we're gonna get rich if we do that right. But there's so much more to it. You cannot send ad traffic to your website, to your homepage or whatever. That's not gonna work. It needs to
you
be
see
like
it online all the
super
time, like
specific.
on X,
Yeah,
guys complaining, I've got 20,000 people hitting this landing page and zero conversion, right?
yeah, and of
See it all
course,
the
like
time.
if you're in this space, and if you've been in this online marketing and creating landing pages and doing ads for 15 years, you learn quite a bit, and then you'd start to understand why it's so important to have a landing page. Because, and I do understand that some people, they think like, yeah, but what's the difference between a landing page and a home page? I mean, it's got the same message on it. But what we do is we create landing pages that fit the ad, that specifically fit one of their offers or products or services that they have. It even fits like the network where it's coming from. If it's coming from Meta or TikTok or Google Ads, you know.
So you mean,
It
sorry,
needs to
just to
be
interrupt,
like
Niels,
a
you
flow.
mean the look and feel, or like how does it fit? Can you expand on that?
Yeah, but also the tone of voice, for example.
Hmm.
Right? So if you would be sending traffic from LinkedIn to a landing page, it's going to be a bit more formal probably. And if it's coming from TikTok, you need to have some more video in it, definitely. Right? So there needs to be like a flow that is seamless, and that is there shouldn't be too much surprises. It should be very intuitive. Like, I expected this to happen, and I expected this to see after I click this ad, because then I know what to do now. I need to click this other button, and then I click this stripe button, if that's what you want. But that, like, optimizing this flow, and that's what they call CRO. That is what we want to pivot to a bit more now. And we also found out that niches is yeah, that's the way to go. So we don't want to advertise ourselves anymore as we can do anything, and
The whole funnel, yeah.
we can create landing pages and ad campaigns for any kind of company, because that's not true. Because we could, but that is gonna we're gonna get a shit ton of work if we're gonna reinvent ourselves every time and fully adapt on. And if you just pick one or two or three niches and get familiar with it, understand the pains, the problems that these kind of customers from these
And
companies
have case
have.
studies as well, yeah.
that makes it so much easier to like onboard the next customer of ours and the next one and the next one, and just kind of copy paste, but always you have to, of course, adapt like the landing page for the tone of voice, for the branding, and that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's what we are about to do now. Yeah.
Sounds awesome. Totally agree with everything that you've just said. I'm not sure if you've, it's not a test. I'm not sure if you've seen any of my products that I sell, because I productized the social media agency that I used to sell into the China market, and effectively I'm selling that to the UK. And it's opened my eyes to the difference between selling a traditional agency model and selling a product as a service. Because as a product, as for a product as a service, you need to be nailing exactly the pain points of your audience. Because if you don't, then the likelihood of a conversion is very low. And even if they book a call for your product, you know, if it's not tuned in, like fine tuned into that industry, then you'll struggle to sell it. You know, for example, if you're selling to e-commerce businesses, it's completely different from legal firms, as an example, because a legal firm, it's probably not going to have, at least in my case, I know for a fact, it doesn't have as much requirements on asset creation, but it has an emphasis on research of the industry to be specific about what those deliverables are. So, you know, where the effort and energy is focused in building a comprehensive solution for those different industries varies greatly on the niche that you're tapping into. So tell us more. I mean, I'm very interested to know all about these, like switch into revenue operations and what created that.
You know, there can be different kinds of differences between all these niches, like what you mentioned, but also things like we have a cosmetic clinic client. They sell like $1,000, $2,000 treatments. That's a long decision-making process. Not just because of the money, but also because of the impact that it has on someone. Like they do want to do an eyelid correction lift or whatever.
You should come to Asia,
on their
Niels.
face.
Like it's so
They want to
common
change
here.
their face.
You have so many
Oh
clients
yeah,
here. Yeah, crazy.
yeah. But you know that's a really long decision-making process. So that's gonna give some interesting challenges with tracking the lead. Um, um, but that's a huge difference with, for example, a SaaS that sells something that's like $7 a month, right? That's an easy decision, but also the ad budget is really different because you can just spend a couple of dollars on a lead, right? On CPL. Maybe the lifetime value is going to be $100 for that SaaS. So you can only spend a little bit, and for this clinic, you can spend like 200, 300 euros, or well, I'm from the Netherlands, so I always talk in euros, but let's say dollars. You can spend like 200, $300 CPL, right? So that's that, and if you have this difference, you need to have a completely different approach as well on how am I gonna do these ads and how am I gonna test this. And of course, also your landing page, your copy, your visuals, everything is different. So you really need to put a lot of time and effort in fully understanding this niche after you've done a completely different niche. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why we want to like really focus on specific niches. And the way we maybe that's interesting to tell, the way we select niches. It's actually based on two things. Of course, we do quite a lot of research to get to know this, but it's based on how big is the competition in this niche. If there's a lot of competition between companies in the niche, it means that they're probably very interested in some help with doing marketing because they need to like stay on top of their game, right? It's hard work if you have a lot of competition. So they probably want to spend something to do their online marketing. And the other thing is like the other selection criteria is there need to be high margins on their products or services. Clinics is one example, lawyers is another example. They make a lot of money, so they have a lot of money to spend as well. So that also makes the decision for them easier to spend a couple of K a month on our services. Uh, maybe also startups that get backed by some funding could be interesting. On Twitter, on X, what we see happening there, all these startups, yeah, that's not really our focus. Most of them they do it on the side, right? So they have a job and they just build something. And yeah, we cannot really. It's hard to sell someone who just has a couple of dollars to spend, of course.
How's your
Uh,
Niels in terms of go to market? Like, do you do a lot of offline? Do you like meet people in person and like what's your angle with that?
how we onboard
Yeah, no,
or how we do
find
sales or
clients. Yeah, sales in 2024 for you.
yeah. Well, that's an interesting question because we are currently in the middle of setting up like a very broad sales funnel for ourselves. We used to get clients just from our network
Mm-hmm.
and just by manually like doing some cold outreach on LinkedIn. And I got like 2 or 3 clients from X because I've been investing quite a lot of time in building my following on X. So finally, about 2 or 3 months ago, I reached 1,000 followers. I was really happy. You can imagine, but and it paid off actually. That was the cool thing, right? So I am getting leads from X now, and I just started it in October last year or something. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, LinkedIn also cold outreach, but it's not going quick enough, fast enough. We need a larger stream of incoming leads. So we figured we need to like professionalize our whole sales funnel instead of just like this. How do you say that? Ad hoc? Is that the same in
Mm-hmm.
English?
Yeah.
That you just like, oh, someone is like doing inbound and oh, interesting, but you cannot control that in any way. So yeah, we're setting up this sales funnel right now, but that's a lot of work. You need to have this whole Martech set up with a CRM, with email software. So we're using HubSpot as a CRM, then ConvertKit for example for delivering lead magnets. But even the creating the lead magnets, that's actually also quite a lot of work because you want to do that really well, right? I mean, people are not gonna like it if you just give them bullshit in exchange for their email address, of course.
Right.
But yeah, that's also gonna be very niched down on some specific niches where we are focusing on, and those lead magnets are also really focused on those niches, like helping with specific problems, giving specific tips for example for creating your landing page or like for a full framework for how to do your online marketing within that specific niche. But yeah, that all is in the process of setting it up. But if we have it like set up like we the way we visualized it, because we recently had like a strategy session in Warsaw. That's where my co-founder is coming from. He's living there. So we had just 5 days working together and creating our new offer. That's when we decided to pivot and creating like a whole sales funnel around it. So how are we going to let people know that we have this amazing offer for these specific niches? So yeah, that's going to be like the whole thing with top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. Everything is thought out and how we're going to do that. So yeah, maybe in a couple of months, it actually works and it's gonna start to do something. But yeah, that's like you just have to put time in it, right? That's the investment.
Takes time.
Totally agree. I think you've touched on a few points there. We're approaching the time of the show, Alex, but you've touched on a few points there, which I think are really interesting about you having this broad funnel and then almost like a little bit of a shakedown process to get the positioning right for the offers that you're going to make to specific niches. You know, it's a very admirable, it's a targeted approach, but you've just mentioned you're going to have to take and put a lot of time into it. So how much time is this taking set up? Because the operation sounds like massive broad funnel, but with very specific niches and specific magnets. How many are you setting up, and how long does it take to set one of those operations up?
Yeah, so we just start with one niche, right? I mean, you cannot do everything at the same time.
Okay.
The one we think is gonna be the most interesting. So, and where we have, how do you call that? Experience in. We can actually show people like, this is what we've done before, and we can just kind of copy paste it to your business. And that's gonna be a really interesting hook, I think. But it starts with the offer, right? And if the offer isn't good, you can create a whole sales funnel around it, and yeah, that's not gonna do anything. So the offer is something we put a lot of thought in. Actually,
just to break down, Niels, the offer would be the price and the sort of deliverable, like that encapsulates a number of different things packaged together.
So it's gonna be the productized service. But it's gonna be an offer that is says it's kind of a full program for about 4 or 5 months, in which we are going to like fully transform the whole online marketing part of what this business is doing for one specific product or service that they offer. So it also focuses on doing the whole marketing tech setup. It focuses on building a whole sales funnel around it. So it's not going to be anymore just landing pages and ad campaigns. And it takes about 4 to 5 months. And then there is this, how do you call it, retainer after it, where we do optimization, where we create new landing pages, where we just keep it running, the whole funnel, keep it running. And yeah, that's I think that's going to be really interesting, because what we see happening now is that we enter a company, we do the landing pages and ad campaigns, but then the part that happens after it, that's out of our control. And that usually, needs is a different thing, but there's a lot to optimize usually after that. Right. So really the monetization flow, also with like email marketing, that kind of stuff. So it's really interesting to work on that as well, and just take the full funnel instead of just that top of funnel part, and help companies out with making more sales in the end. Of course, it's just like lead generation, but then the full shebang.
Totally agree. Well, I think that, again, nugget of wisdom from you there, Niels, but in the modern day, it's not just about getting the sale anymore. It's about how well you can repeat sell or retain customers, whether it be B2B in terms of like retainer, or whether it be in product in terms of like lifetime value of a customer. So I think you can't just optimize the front end and then expect the business to grow, because you can get leads, you can get sales, but if you don't get the repeat purchases, then you can't effectively scale very quickly.
Yeah. For an example, let's look at a clinic, a cosmetic clinic that was one of our clients. So we could do this whole thing with the landing page, ad campaigns, delivering the lead into their booking system, right? And then how do you say it, like kind of the link broke, because then there was a doctor, and he's receiving these people for an intake. It's still free, right? So they just come to the clinic and they have this intake, but then that's the sales part. But the doctor is not a salesperson, and they never gave these people a sales training or whatever. It sounds maybe a bit controversial to do sales as a doctor, but it's a commercial clinic, so why not? So we figured these people and the owners of this clinic actually like this idea as well. These people need a little bit of training into how to convert this person into a client at first, and then after the treatment, how to upsell them or cross-sell them or whatever. And also do that with email marketing, but also in person, because that's super strong, right? That's even better than email marketing, and they are there anyway. So, and you can do that with all kinds of businesses, like train the people who get into contact with the customer a little bit to upsell a little bit more, or just make the initial sell anyway. And that is also going to be part of our like full program
Yeah.
for in
So
our
you'll
case, it's going to be
so
clinics.
you'll in effect, if they have any in-house marketing people, you'll help like train them as well and like advise, like consulting as well. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that is going to be the first niche that we're doubling down on.
I,
That's it's
I've
going to be cosmetic clinics.
I have one last question, Alex, before we move into the final segment. But my final question is Niels, your opinion on, like, in terms of hooking people into the business, are you giving away for it like a free trial?
Yeah.
You know, you've just talked about
Yeah.
you having that in stages. So is the initial part of your offer, is that an unpaid part where you say, okay, we'll build this out, you'll see some benefit from this funnel that we've created, and then you've got to pay for it if you want that to continue?
Something like that. It's not going to be free. Uh, we really believe in building authority. That's super important, right? So as long as you build your authority and you show your
Mm-hmm.
face, I think that's a super important thing to do. Show your face. So we're going to create a lot of videos within our full sales funnel.
Mm-hmm.
For the lead magnet part, I want to start a YouTube channel to just explain stuff, small stuff, like
Mm-hmm.
super detailed stuff, and it can be just a couple of minutes, but it can be something that helps another marketeer just fix that little thing for them.
Yeah.
Okay.
But authority building is super important. I think that's a big part of selling, because that makes your actual sales call in the end super easy, because they already believe what you're saying, and they saw also in your lead magnets. I think that's why lead magnets are so important. They saw that you understand what you're talking about, that you know what you're talking
Okay.
about. And then we have this offer before we go to the 5 months big offer. We have a 10-week clinic booster that we thought of. In 10 weeks, we create 4 to 5 landing pages, and if they perform better, well, the idea is that they perform better, of course, than your own landing pages, their own landing pages. If it doesn't, they get their money back. I think it's going to be like 2K or something to
Mm-hmm.
do these 10 weeks with optimization. There's also optimization in between, and then after these 10 weeks, we do the report and we see, did they perform better or not? Did they give more sales? Well, if they didn't, we just give the money back, because yeah, then it's useless, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's going to be the catch to get people into the larger offer.
Okay. Well, honestly, Niels, like we're running a bit over our expected time here, but you've got me absolutely pumped. Been dropping a lot of nuggets of wisdom here. But final question, it's the big one. We ask every guest this, and we catch them off guard. So can't wait to see your face once I ask this question. But it's future predictions. It could be anything. It could be about you. It could be about the world, the future of sales and marketing. But what do you think is going to happen in the future?
Phew, interesting question. Well, we have this whole thing with AI going, of course, and that's probably the answer of most people, that they're going
Nine
You're not
times
to
out of
wrong.
grab
10.
AI as well. Something's going to be probably happening there, but I really think a lot of things are going to happen there. We are also actually tapping into that with a second company that we want to start after we've set this whole thing up. Actually, we have our first client for it. It's for AI automation consultancy. So in the background, we are doing that as well, kind of starting it up. I mean, if you have your first client, it gets real, right? So it was just an idea all the time. But you see all these companies, well, a lot of these owners of companies struggling with the idea of like, yeah, shit, there is AI, and people are working with it, but maybe I should do something with it as well. Am I not like how do you say that? Like falling behind on on
Yeah.
my competitors, and what the hell do I have to do with this? I think that there's like a huge um, opportunity there to tap into and give them the answers, right? So this is what you can do with it. I think that's it has the momentum right now. But yeah, what's gonna be in the future? I don't know, man. I don't know. We are not.
What
Uh,
you, here? I'll plant one for you here, Niels. What do you think? Build in public. Is it dead or is it still alive?
oh, I think it's still alive. I think there's just a lot of these. Yeah, I'm not sure if I
Bullshit
should say that.
artists. Yeah.
There's a lot of bullshitters on it, and
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is kind of spoiling our market as well, right? All these like
Yeah.
15-year-old kids, yeah, I can build websites and I can do online marketing. It's like, yeah, okay, you can do something, but
It's
you're also
crazy.
like,
DMs every day. DMs. Huh?
oh,
Every day.
yeah, yeah. And I really like the enthusiasm and the how do you say it? Well, actually, the
Hustle.
naivety. How do you say that?
Yeah.
Naive?
Yeah.
How naive they can
Naivety.
be,
Yeah.
because I've been there as well, right? That is the learning curve. So that's, have you ever seen that? This I'm not sure if it has a name, but this
Yeah.
learning curve of, in the beginning you think you can do everything,
Dunning-Kruger effect.
and
I.
you need to think that you can do everything, because otherwise you're not gonna continue with
It's
it,
the
right?
way
But
these guys do it as well. I got one today. It just says, "Are you doing anything with emails?" BTW. By the way, question mark. That's it. That's what you opened with.
yeah, and then you said, yeah, I read them and I reply,
I always reply "Hey," so everyone I always reply "Hey" just to see what the
hey.
next
Oh, really? They
message is
do?
going to be. Yeah,
Yeah, but you
always do.
you have got quite a lot of followers, right? About 5,000 or something.
It's legacy. Yeah, a lot of smartphone industry people. It's
You're
Oh,
being modest now, mate.
no.
so I
Some
guess you get,
journalists.
yeah, so you get 5 times, maybe even more. Maybe it works exponential the more followers you have. You
Yeah, but
get a lot of DMs probably.
Jake's getting big on YouTube now, and I bet he gets a lot of YouTube. Like you're gonna get comments on YouTube and all this stuff if you
Oh
do
yeah.
that as well. You know.
We'll see. It's going places, but I think that's a good one to end it on, Neil. So it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Really, I'm actually amped. We don't have many conversations. Usually, the future prediction is the end of the world, but this conversation has got me thoroughly amped, and dropped a lot of knowledge. I definitely needed that. Been to school today, so I'd like to say thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, no worries. I think we need to do like a Joe Rogan style podcast once, like with just 3 hours of talking bullshit about marketing. That
Let's
would
do
be
it.
cool.
Let's do it in 6 months. Let's do it in six
Yeah,
months
yeah.
with some beers. With some beers. Right.
Oh, even better. Yeah, on a
Yeah.
Friday evening. Yeah.
Bring that.
All right, man. Cheers. See you guys.
Thank
Right.
you.
Thank you.